Hey sportsmen, John Bergsman here with a lake preview, a really fun lake preview. We're talking about the Lake Superior, the nearshore waters, the harbor, and a bucket list from Marquette, Michigan. So let's talk just a little bit of the progression of Great Lakes fishing out of Marquette, because it's really underutilized, and there is just a ton of fantastic fishing available from ice out all the way till, just like I always say, as cold as you can stand it. So let's talk about the early season silverfish fishing, lake trout, coho, steelhead out of Marquette. And it starts, quite frankly, according to my friend John Tomchek at Daybreak Charters, as soon as you leave your slip, literally. The fishing, the fun part about the early season fishing here in Marquette is it happens right in the harbor for the whole month of May. And the harbor is essentially about 40-45 feet deep at its maximum depth, and as shallow as 10 or 12 in some spots. And what makes this a fun fishery is you can take advantage of this, as you can imagine, with about any size boat. All you need is the proper equipment, and that equipment basically inside the harbor is just flat lines. 1 color, 2 color, 3 colors of lead core, body baits, and John's all-time favorite, a bomber long A, silver and blue, just mimicking an alewife or a big lake shiner, and you just have to really go searching. It's fishing 101. Anybody who's ever done silverfish fishing, you've got to be versatile, you've got to look at your screen, and you've got to start deep, move shallow, or vice versa until you encounter the fish. Now, a spread of planer boards, usually offshore makes a really unique big board now, and it's much larger, and it's built to handle lead, and those would be a good thing to invest in if you're going to do this type of fishing, because you're going to need those later in the season when you're running 5 and 7 colors of lead. So anyway, we're talking about in the harbor through the end of May. Once you get to about summer vacation time, early to mid-June, John tells me, and I've been out in the boat with him, these fish basically are going to spread out on either side down the shoreline. The cool thing about Marquette is and Lake Superior is you can get into some very deep water very close to shore. You don't have to run 5, 6, 7 miles like some of the ports downstate. No, you can get in some extremely deep water a mile or 2 out, which again, on not windy days, it makes small boat fishing a real accessible opportunity for you. The fish that we're fishing for are basically lake trout, coho, and steelhead. Those are the big 3 out of Marquette. You're going to catch a ton of those fish, and they're basically high lines for coho and steelhead, and once you get outside the harbor, then you're going to go ahead and drop down with dipsies and riggers for lake trout. Now, dipsies and riggers fishing for lake trout is super simple. You're going to short line either a spin and glow or a spoon, and when I say short line, maybe 4 to 6 feet from the ball is all. Lake trout are curious fish. They're going to go ahead and come in and take a look, and you're going to run that ball very close to the bottom. A lot of times John will even drop the ball down so it impacts the bottom, and that's called bumping, and that ball will bump the bottom. Now, you don't want to drag them. You just want to bump them and then maybe pull them up a foot or 2. But that bumping of the bottom and that ball close to the bottom, randomly hitting the bottom, is like a dinner bell to these lake trout, and they will come in and take a look, and when they take a look, boom, your bait is right there, and they usually are pretty good about hitting it. Steelhead and coho are much higher in the column fish, and so this is where the lead core comes in. And when you get outside the harbor into the deeper water, John's consistent go-to baits are a 5-color set and a 7-color set. Same thing, body baits or spoons, either bomber A's or a silver streak, a mini streak, whatever type of spoon you really want to run. Typically natural colors seem to work really good. The silver and blues, the golden blues, the silver and greens, silver and orange, those are all good colors. Let's shift gears, talk about what John Tomchek's favorite thing out of Marquette, Michigan is, and that is a bucket list item, and it's a trip. And this is a trip you really have to get with one of the charters that's local in Marquette, because the Standard Rock Reef structure, which is basically 2-3 hours by boat ride offshore, is a bucket list destination. This is a reef structure that's 50 miles from the closest land from any point, and it holds some of the biggest lake trout known to man, and I'm not kidding. There are state record, maybe world record lake trout swimming on or around the structure there at Standard Rock. It's what John loves to do the best, and it's what a ton of people come to Marquette, Michigan to check off their bucket list, is a jigging trip to Standard Rock. That's right, jigging. Whether he's fishing early season in 200 feet of water, or as the season progresses, he moves up the structure a little bit. The fish are caught on spinning tackle, rod and reel. It is hand-to-hand combat. It is jigs. It is white plastics. It's little chunks of sucker or herring. You usually tip your jig with meat of some sort, and you are literally hand-to-hand combat, dropping that jig all the way to the bottom, bouncing it off of the bottom, and you'll catch Lakers up to 30 and 40 pounds on spinning tackle. It is an amazing experience. It is something that everybody has to do once in their life. It is right here in Michigan, right out of the port of Marquette. So really look at Marquette. Next time you're thinking, you hear all this talk about negative talk about the Great Lakes fishery and silverfish. There's no negative talk out of Marquette. It is one of the best fisheries anywhere. Lake Superior shoreline. Thanks for joining me today for our nearshore and Standard Rock Lake preview from Marquette, Michigan.